Hello BookTube, it's Joshua here, and today I'm going to be showing you another level of my bookshelf. Um, I'm doing the second highest level of my shelf here, and it's very full. It has two rows to it, one in front and one behind. So it's really stacked with books, and so this video might take a while, but I'll just go through it as fast as I can. The first book is Louisa May Alcott's Little Women, Little Men, and Jo's Boys. And I read Little Woman about a year ago, and I really enjoyed it. I honestly I think I really connected to it, and I think it was just a very delightful novel. It's very comforting, but also very it's not just purely comfort. I think there's also a lot of hardship that the characters go through, and I really enjoyed following the characters through all that. And yeah, I want to read the next two, and I want to return to Little Woman, and that is why I have this. Um, Next up, these two are books that I've shown on this channel, I think in my last video, and that is Anne Frank's the Diary of a Young Girl, and Victor Klemper's I Will Bear Witness, 1933 to 1941. So these are both diaries of living in Nazi Germany. And I haven't read either of them, but I'd really like to. I don't think I've ever read any kind of actual, any kind of actual personal account of living in Nazi Germany. Although in The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, Shire does sometimes sprinkle in his own personal memories of being a reporter in Nazi Germany. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so. But yeah, I really want to read these. Okay, next up, I have something that might make Steve mad. I'll go one at a time. So, first up is Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce. I've never read this. I just have it because it's, famous, and I got a copy. I don't know if I'll ever actually read this. I really don't know. I don't really want to. So yeah, that's that. Next up is James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist, which I would probably read this because it's supposed to resemble, a little bit more at least, it's supposed to resemble normal fiction, which makes me want to read it a bit more. And then there's James Joyce's Dubliners. And this I've read maybe like half of this. I've just dipped into it. I haven't read this in a while, but when I first got it some years ago, I dipped into it and spent some time with it. And I remember liking it, but actually, we read one of these we read, I think, Araby, in my class this semester, and I didn't really like it. I remembered reading it even earlier and liking it, but the second time around, I didn't think that there was actually much in that story to make me care or anything like that. So, I mean, I'll still read this at some point probably and see what I think of it as a whole, but yeah. Okay, next up is a different one. This is Jim Crow. Oh, sorry, some books fell. This is Jim Crow: Voices from a Century of Struggle, Part 1, 1876 to 1919, Reconstruction to the Red Summer. And Taina L. Steptoe is the editor there. So this is a Library of America volume, and they give you, it's like an anthology of various material from that time period. So I think it could be like news articles, stuff like that. And I think that it also it presents to you people arguing against against racism, against segregation, but also it presents to you white supremacist arguments as well. And you see, I think it's just supposed to be like a portrait of all the writing of that time on this subject. And I got this because I'm getting more interested in race, or like in race in history, in American history, in like segregation, in the civil rights movement, that kind of stuff. Not because I actually know a lot about it, but because I read some James Baldwin novels, and I adored them, and I love how he incorporates some of those themes, especially in his first novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain. I think it's really fascinating. And I also took a Harlem Renaissance class in the fall, and that was also on the subject, and I enjoyed it. It was really interesting. And then I did take also this semester. I took a Black literature course. It was titled Black Literature, but I didn't read the subscription, and I should have, because when I started taking the class, I realized, no, it's not Black literature. It's Black literature from the Canadian prairies only, which is a very big difference. Um, and the class ended up being not my favorite. I mean, I discovered a few good authors from that class, but I really would have preferred it if it was Black literature as a whole, and we got to read some more major authors, um, James Baldwin, for example. But I did discover I discovered one author from that class that I would really like to read more of, and his name is Lawrence Hill. So yeah, I liked that one, but I was a bit disappointed by that class. But yeah, I'm interested in the subject as well. And okay, so I'll stop talking now, and I'll get on to the next book. Next is a bunch of Jane Austen, and I'll just hold up this whole box set plus a couple others at once. So this is a box set from I think it's the Modern Library. No, Everyman's Library. This is an Everyman's Library set. As you can see, I replaced well, the set is missing Pride and Prejudice. It's not here. And then I just threw in an Oxford World of Classics of Northanger Abbey and other works to fill in the spot. And then I also have this small Jane Austen, The Beautiful Cassandra, which I haven't read, and another copy of Persuasion. I lost this copy, or I gave it away and I didn't get it back, and yeah. The story behind that is a little bit, I don't know, maybe funny or embarrassing, but I gave it away while I was on a date, and well, I didn't get it back, and the date didn't work out, unfortunately. but no, yeah. And then I also have this, The Complete Novels, Jane Austen, but by Jane Austen. And so this is a one volume thing of from the Penguin English Library. Out of all the novels that I've read by Jane Austen, I've read Pride and Prejudice, Emma, and Northanger Abbey, and that's all I've read by her. And I really want to get to everything else, but yeah, I just haven't yet. But out of those three, I liked Pride and Prejudice. I liked Pride and Prejudice the most. It's the one I've read the most. I read it twice, and then I've listened to Steve's read aloud of the novel. And then for Emma, that I would rank that as my second favorite, after Pride and Prejudice, because I liked it quite a bit. But there was one quibble that I have with it, and it's that there's this one moment, and I remember reading it, and I remember seeing this one moment near the end of the novel, where I'm not gonna name names because well, first of all, I don't remember character names very easily, but also because I don't want to spoil it. But there was one moment near the end of the novel where two characters might potentially get together, and the main character, Emma, sees that and doesn't want it to happen, and you can tell that neither does Jane Austen, and the reason for that is simple class snobbery, because one of the characters is slightly poorer, whereas the other character is a lot more rich, and Jane Austen, as well as Emma, you can tell that the author thinks this herself. Jane Austen thinks that because of that, they genuinely aren't fit for each other, or that if they were to marry, it would actually be wrong. And that, I kind of bridled up against that, because, if in that scenario they wanted to get married, there shouldn't be anything to actually stop them. But Austen kind of treated it as if it were completely unimaginable, because they're in a different class or something like that. So yeah, that was the one quibble I had with Emma. But then it was still good. I liked it, and I'd like to revisit it. And then I read Northanger Abbey, which was very different from the other two, because I believe it's like a parody of the Gothic novels of the time. It didn't really do much for me. Maybe because I haven't read any of those Gothic novels, so I didn't find that kind of parody funny. And yeah, honestly, I just didn't really care for Northanger Abbey. It didn't. Yeah, the characters didn't really charm me in any way. But yeah, that's Jane Austen. Next up we have Castiglione, the Book of the Courtier. And this, I don't know much about it actually. I think I heard about this originally from Steve's channel, when I was a couple of years ago, probably watching through his Daily Penguin series. And yeah, I just have this. I think I found this at a free little library, and um, I don't know much about it actually. So I'll just have to read this sometime and find out. Um, Next up is a very huge one. This is Rebecca West, Black Lamb and Grey Falcon. This is a a huge 1,000 page thing, and it's published by Penguin Classics. And I believe I discovered this through Steve's channel, and I believe it's about it's a nonfiction book, where Rebecca West and her husband, I think, travel through Yugoslavia in the 1930s. I think it's just about that. I don't know much more, but I'm really excited to read this. I have had this for almost a year now, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So yeah. Okay, next up, more things I haven't read, but things that I'm very happy to have. This is a box set of Thomas Hardy's The Great Novels. So it has Far from the Madding Crowd, The Mayor of Casterbridge, Tess of the Dubervilles, and The Return of the Native. And these are little tiny pocket editions. Really beautiful artwork here. Gonna try to show it to you without the reflection. Yeah, there. And so you just have really beautiful, like a painting of the wilderness. And then I want to show you the actual covers of the books themselves, because they're also beautiful. For The Return of the Native, you have this front cover, and then for Tess of the Dubervilles, you have this, and the back is just orange and white. And then for The Mayor of Casterbridge, you have this delightful painting. And then for Far from the Madding Crowd, you have this, which I think is the most beautiful out of them all. I heard of sheep, or there's, yeah, sheep, I don't know. But yeah, I heard it's really beautiful. Okay, I'm just gonna put this back in real quick. But I haven't read much of Thomas Hardy at all, really. I haven't read, I for the most part haven't read any of his fiction. I have read his poetry, and I read one short story by him in class, which I enjoyed. And so I really need to I really need to read more of him. Okay. Next up is The Selected Stories of Anton Chekhov, which I haven't read all of this, but I've dipped into it. There are a couple stories that I have just returned to over and over again. There's one which is my favorite, and I'm sure as I read more of him, I'll discover more that become favorites. But there's one here. I think this is the one, right? Yeah, there's one here called Panakita. Panakita there, and it's 5 pages long, I think. 1, 2, 3. It's 4 pages long, but it's so moving. And yeah, I need to read more of Chekhov, because that story, and plus a couple of others I found in here, were just so beautiful, and so they felt like masterpieces, even though they were only like 4 or 5 pages. So yeah. Next up is Ivan Turgenev, and I haven't read all of this again, but I guess with short stories I tend to just dip into them. And again, this is kind of similar to Chekhov. I mean, his style is different, but it's similar to Chekhov in the sense that I've just read a couple of stories, and they're so beautiful and so moving. Turgenev tends to give you lots of lavish descriptions of the Russian countryside, of this rural setting where there are a lot of serfs. There are a lot of or the main character in these short stories goes among the serfs of Russia, and talks to them and hunts with them and that kind of thing, and it's just really beautiful. I mean, just being in this world is kind of, it's so different from our modern day world. It's pretty amazing. And then I have the collected poems of Marcel Proust. Um, and so this is a dual language edition, English and French. I haven't really read this. I don't know if it would actually do anything for me, like, because of Proust. I don't think his poems were really achieved much at all. But I read In Search of Lost Time. It was one of the first books that I got into when I was in high school, and I kind of became a fan for a while, and I ordered this book because of that. But I haven't gone back to Proust in some years, and so now I'm not sure what I would think of him if I were to return to him. But yeah, I read Proust back in high school. I read like the first 2.5 volumes, and then I stopped there. And then next up is the writings of Jonathan Swift, which I haven't read. I actually haven't read much of Swift at all. There are a couple things I really like by him. I've read some of his poetry, and I've read that one satirical essay, the name of which I can't remember. Wait, I'm gonna see if I can find it in the content section here. A Modest Proposal. Sorry for the delay. I'll probably edit that out. Yeah, I read I read A Modest Proposal. It's a short 12-page essay. That it's really funny, but also really has a really biting and angry tone. And yeah, I really want to read more Swift. Next up is Bertrand Russell, The Basic Writings of Bertrand Russell. So this is an anthology of various things that he wrote on various subjects. I mean, he was a philosopher, but he wrote about all kinds of things. I think he wrote about some kind of mathematical stuff. I would have no idea what to make of that. He wrote about philosophy, which again I probably wouldn't know what to make of whatever he's saying about philosophy. I don't have much experience reading that genre. But he's also written about other stuff. I think he's written about, well, I don't know, just tons of things. Principia Mathematica, on induction, symbolic logic. I have no idea what these things mean. I don't know if I'll ever actually get to this, because I don't know whether I'll like it, but maybe I'll try it at some point. I just have it on my shelf. Okay, that's the first row of the shelf done. Now we're going to get into the second row behind all those books. So first up is Ryunosuke Akutagawa, Rashomon, and 17 Other Stories. I've read some of the stories in here again. I've just dipped in, and I remember them being kind of very surreal, very kind of. It reminds me of that one. What do you call it? Magical realism, kind of that thing. Maybe that's completely wrong. Maybe I'm mischaracterizing it completely. But yeah, I've only read a couple of them, but I just remember them being kind of like that. But I would like to read more of Akutagawa. It's been a while. Next up is a big one. This is The Tale of Genji, by Murasaki Shikibu, which I have not read. But of course, I really want to read it because I've heard so many good things about it. Lots of people read it. Like lots of people here on BookTube have read it or talk about reading it. So I would really like to get to this as well. And this is the Royal Tyler translation in the Penguin Deluxe Classic Edition, and you have some really beautiful artwork here on the cover. Okay. Next up, a couple more Japanese novels. This section is arranged, I think, by foreign works of fiction. So like we're in the Japanese section. This one is Snow Country by Yasunari Kawabata, which I read, but it didn't leave much of an imprint on me. I don't remember much of it. I just remember it being a kind of doomed love affair type thing with a, I think the name is like geisha or something like that. I don't really know. I think it's like, I don't really know what that is, but it's like I think it's like a woman who's meant to be a kind of hostess, or like an entertainer for people visiting whatever place. And this story is about a Japanese man who starts an affair with a geisha, I think, and it's this kind of doomed affair because I think he has a family as well. But I don't remember much from it. I don't remember really being impacted by it. Probably I'll want to revisit this at some point and see what I really think of it. And okay, the next up is Spring Snow by Yukio Mishima, which I did read in 2024. I read it a little over a year ago now. And my friend, one of my friends is a really big fan of Yukio Mishima. And I read this at his request or at his encouragement, and he actually loaned me the second book in the series. So this is the first one, and this is the second one, Runaway Horses, and he let me borrow this a while ago, and I still haven't read it, but I do want to read it, and yeah, this is also a doomed love affair, this time between I think one nobleman and one noble woman. And it's just, I don't know, I thought it was really beautifully written, but I think the main character, I can't remember for the life of me what his name is, Kiyowaki. Kiyowaki is just such a petty person and so not likable. It's just, I don't know. That was a difficulty when it was a difficulty it was a difficulty encountering that character. Okay, so that was the Japanese novel section. Next up we have some Russian novels. So this is War and Peace. This is translated by Constance Garnett, and it's the Modern Library edition. I haven't read War and Peace at all, but definitely I'm going to want to read it at some point. And then after that, there's more Leo Tolstoy. There's Anna Karenina right here in this small Signet Classics paperback, translated by David Magershak. So yeah, again, I haven't read any of Tolstoy, so I need to fix that. I need to read one of these. And then this is not supposed to be in this section, but this is not a Russian novel, of course. This is James Joyce's Ulysses, the Oxford World Classics edition, and I haven't read Ulysses, and I don't know if I want to. Probably I'll try to read it at some point, but yeah, I don't know. Now we're back to the Russians. Next up is Crime and Punishment, by Dostoevsky, in another Signet Classics edition. This is translated by who is it translated by? With an introduction by these two people. It doesn't actually say. Hold on, I need to see this. It's translated by Sidney Monis. So Sidney Monis. Okay. That's who it's translated by. Again, I haven't read this. I really haven't read any Russian novels. I need to get to that. But that is a part of the canon that I have not yet broached. And then one last Dostoevsky novel, The Idiot. And again, I haven't read this, but this one's translated by Ignat Avzi, and yeah, that's that. Next up is Alexandre Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo, which again I haven't read. So now we're on to the French stuff. This is translated by Robin Buss. It's just the Penguin Classics one, which I think is fairly popular. And again, I haven't read it, so I don't know what I can say, but I want to read it. I want to read all of these, but it takes time. But I'll try to get to them all. Next up are some short stories by Guy de Maupassant, and I dipped into some short stories when I first got this volume some years ago, but I haven't read them all, and I can't say anything really knowledgeable about Maupassant. But I mean, that will be for the future. Again, more French works. This is Rabelais, This is his work, Gargantua and Pantagruel. I found this. I think I got this at a book sale for a pretty cheap price. It's a very old used copy, and I haven't read him. So I don't even know what this is about actually. I just know that he's a canonical author. And then here we have one Flaubert novel, Madame Bovary. And same thing with the other ones. I haven't read it. And then here we have Montaigne, the complete essays. And I have tried to read this, and I found it a little bit dry. That was my first impression. But of course, I need to go beyond the first 50 pages. I need to actually just plunge myself into them and see what happens, because a work this long, it probably takes a while for you to really get into it. And you know, I have it on good authority. I have it on Steve's authority. I have it on everyone else's authority that Montaigne is an author worth reading. So yeah, again, for the future. And here we have Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This has the I think like the movie musical, a photo from like the movie musical on the cover, which I haven't even watched, so I don't really know the story. I think Norman Denny translates this. Yeah, translated by Norman Denny. And I haven't read it, but I want to. This is a actually this would be good for reading this April, for April Adventures. This is Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. I think I watched some movie adaptation of it when I was a kid, with The Rock in it, I think. But I haven't read this. Probably it would only take me 2 days at most to read it, because this is very short. But yeah, again, haven't read it. Okay, and now we have some Thomas Mann. Not the Magic Mountain, because that is not on this shelf right now. But this is a companion volume to the Magic Mountain, which I bought together with it. This is Thomas Mann, Death in Venice, and 7 other stories. So it collects together short stories and novellas. And I haven't read any of these. I've only read The Magic Mountain by Mann. I haven't read anything else by him. Of course, I would really like to read this. I really want to get other works by Mann as well. I want to get, what was the there are a couple other ones I want. There's one with okay, I'm blanking on the titles of his other novels, but I John David recommended some of them to me, and I've heard about Buddenbrooks, and I want to read that as well. And yeah, next up is The Essential Kafka by Franz Kafka. So I think this just has all of his major works, all of his, you know, it has The Trial, The Castle, Metamorphosis, and Letter to My Father, and other stories. And this is all translated by John R. Williams in this, you know, this cheap Wordsworth Classics edition. And I haven't read any of Kafka, but again, I've heard wonderful things about him, and I'll have to try him out I'll have to try reading at least one of these stories at some point. And then short stories by Jorge Luis Borges. I haven't read Borges at all. One of my friends, he has this same edition, and he read the whole thing, and I think he told me that he really loved it. So I really want to get to this. I'm just repeating myself over and over now that I want to read these things, but yeah, that's kind of how it is. And then this is the very last book I'm going to show you. This is Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude. And I don't know much about what this is even about. I just know that it's a famous novel. And who's it translated by? Gregory Rabassa. Okay. So, that is the complete bookshelf tour. Yeah, that was probably a very long video. So, I mean, thank you for watching if you're still here at the end. And goodbye. I hope you guys enjoyed.